there's no better good than empowering our children, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
Like, if we could tell our kids that you should be respected, you should use your voice, and nobody's allowed to take that from you, like, there's no greater gift.
All right, guys, you are listening to Love SND.
We have a vacuum in the background. We have.
We have all the things going on
Could
because
she not be there right
we record from home, as you can tell, and our lives do not stop to record. So today we have a vacuum. We have a window open because it's a beautiful day.
No, you made me close it.
now? And mine is silent, so I'm probably the only one doing this
Which
job
also
properly.
never happens. Okay, you have like landscapers outside. You have
I
a lot going on.
rescheduled it all.
Anyway, so today we are unpacking stuff. I want to talk about something that happened, and I want your guys' opinion on it because
Okay.
I do tend to overreact, but I truly don't think I am overreacting in this situation. So, what, you're already making faces?
Because you do overreact, but carry on.
Okay, so our kids go to this program consistently, and it's kind of like a school, right? We have to drop them off. There's volunteers and things there that are responsible for them. It's like a camp. So this camp put on an event, and during the event, one of the adult volunteers screamed really loudly at the student volunteers. And it was like, I think I didn't witness the warnings, but apparently the adult had given the kids a warning, and then when they didn't listen, he screamed. And when
I
I
think
say screamed, it
Give
wasn't
some
like,
context. Give some context.
sure.
What was
So the
happening?
student volunteers were doing an activity with the kids, and the adult volunteer told them that the activity was over because they were moving on to the next part of the program. So there was like a group of little kids, and they came to the table to do the activity, and the student volunteers, as kids, were like, okay, like, let me just give you a little bit of like paint and this and that. And it was me, such, and then our friends who were all standing there. And this adult volunteer comes and screams at the kids and like tells them, I told you to do something. Don't do the opposite of what I'm telling you to do. But it wasn't like how I'm saying it to you right now. It was like screaming on the top of his lungs. And all of us were in complete shock. Like, you know how you think that if something happens where like another child is not safe or in danger or like something, you think that you'll step in and be like, it's okay, I got this. Like, let me help you, right? None of us did that. It was just like such a shocking moment that like we all froze. And then this like adult volunteer went away, and another adult volunteer came and like tried to kind of diffuse the situation with the girls. And then it was over. But I literally could not stop thinking about it because it was so obscene and so mean to these girls and like absolutely unnecessary. And I know I overreact and think the worst possible case, but I confirmed with my friends who were standing there next to me. I was like, was that cool, or like was that completely blown out of proportion? And they were like, no, like we've been talking about it all day. It was in fact really inappropriate for him to be so incredibly mean and demeaning and condescending to these little girls who were just volunteering. And so I wrote this email to this adult volunteer, and I was like, dude, what the hell? Essentially saying, like, we send our kids to this camp hoping that they're going to be treated the same way they would be treated if they were to go to school and be with adults who are responsible for them. And if that happened at a public school or any school, there would be consequences. And so the adult responded to me and just justified why he felt it was okay to scream at the girls, which then spiraled my mind into, okay, if he thinks he's right, that's an even bigger problem, because now my kids could be running down the hallways of this camp and he thinks it's okay to scream at them at the degree that he screamed at these girls, which I don't even scream at my kids that loud. It was like awful. And so that is what happened. And I've been trying to contact the adult because he was like, I don't want to talk over email. Let's talk on the phone or whatever. And so I've been trying. I texted, I emailed, I like did what I needed to do to get in touch, and there was no response. So
Does this adult have a boss?
he does.
So just escalate the situation.
So I did. I did email his like superior, and I was like, "Hey, can we talk about this?" But then his superior was like, I'm at a work conference away. Can we talk about it today, actually?" So we'll see if that happens.
Put him on the
too.
phone. Let's go.
Oh my God.
I woke up on this side of the bed. I'm just letting you know.
Great. I didn't. So let's just de-escalate our situation here. Okay.
It's like this, just to give you a little bit more of context about this adult, like this adult takes this volunteer job very seriously. And that is why, and so does his superior, which is why the camp runs really well. And everybody really appreciates that. And yes, they do yell at the parents a lot, like to the point where it's like they're being like condescending and mean and just like
To the parents?
to the parents. We always all make fun of the fact that they yell at the parents because, again, the parents are adults. They know how to like process this information, right? They know they know the power dynamic is equal, right? It's an adult to an adult. But when you have an adult with screaming at a child, that power dynamic changes a lot, where a child doesn't feel like they can talk back or defend themselves or even like say anything in the moment, right? If you have an adult screaming at you the way that he screamed at them, like, first of all, you're humiliated because there's so many people around. And second of all, like, do you forget that? Do you forget that you were talked to that way by an adult in an authoritative role in your life? I don't know.
Okay. So we did chat about this a little bit yesterday, and I was like, Dip, chill the fuck out. Oops. Dip, chill out. My opinion is I don't think that he did the right thing. I think he probably did it in the heat of the matter. And him defending it again shows that he doesn't regret it. So maybe there was some kind of intention behind it. But what I said was like, it's a voluntary job, right? Like it's not like a teacher where they're hired to do certain things. This is all voluntary, and you also choose to send your children there, right? Like it's like nobody's putting a gun to you and said you have to send them there. So it's kind of like I asked Dip, I was like, okay, now that you know that this happened and there's this kind of adult running this program, is this somewhere where you're comfortable sending your children to learn? And she said,
Absolutely not.
but you will send them.
I told Such, I said that I will not send them back until someone addresses this. Like until someone says, whether it's the adult himself or his superior says, that was wrong. We have addressed it. It will not happen again.
Yeah.
No child will be on the receiving end of that. Because again, I don't care how they treat the parents. The parents to me can defend themselves and they understand. And if they think something's wrong, they will speak up for themselves. But these kids' parents weren't even involved, right? The parents weren't there. I didn't see any of those kids like
The volunteers' parents?
the volunteers' parents were not there. And they usually aren't, right? Like it's a volunteer, like it's a volunteer job.
What age are these kids that were volunteering?
So they're usually, or they could be high school volunteers, but these kids were very young. Like I know one of the girls that was like kind of in the group of these volunteer girls, and she must have been like the lead volunteer, and she's in high school. She's like a junior in high school. So I know that those girls were younger than her.
Yeah.
So like it's your kids. It's like
Yeah,
Naya
yeah.
and Sean, Shaylin, and Zion.
Well, I think that there's an opportunity here outside of just like these these supposed leader adults taking accountability, because whether or not that happens, they might do that to appease you.
Yeah.
But maybe you hold a special meeting with these volunteer kids and be like, this is how you stand up for yourself in this situation. You're putting in your time. Nobody should disrespect you. And these are the words you can use when this something like this happens. You're allowed to walk away. You are allowed to say, I will not accept this behavior,
Yeah.
and walk away. This
Yeah.
Yeah.
program would not run without these volunteers. And they need to
100%.
know that, right?
100%.
Like,
And that was
if that's the consequence of these people's actions, that you're going to lose your volunteers through which your program is successful. Like, respect them or they're out. But they need to be
Yeah.
empowered.
That
Yeah.
was the other thing I was telling Such is like part of me feels like I failed these girls because I didn't stick up for them. Like there were so many adults there, like just in the vicinity, like, you know, wrapping up with their kids. And I wish that I had just like, even after the whole thing ended, I wish I hadn't walked away. I wish I had stopped and said to the girls, that was not okay. You need to tell your parents and this needs to be addressed. Just that much, so that they knew that there was an adult who witnessed this and also agreed that that was not okay.
Well, you could
Why don't
still
you
do
just do it?
that.
Yeah. Do a Zoom call and tell
I
all
don't
the
know
girls
them.
and
I
their
have no
parents.
idea who they
Well,
are.
ask the one girl that you know
Yeah.
in that group to help you, like compile
Say,
a
do
list
you
of
have a
who it
chain,
was.
like an email chain, a text chain, a WhatsApp group? I would like to really address this with you girls because it's not okay behavior.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
I don't think that it's up to you to justify someone else's rationale for this being okay.
Yeah.
Like, if this was wrong, it was wrong. And I think we're in a day and age where young girls need to stand up for themselves against men who have power trips. That's not okay. And that's not how we're raising our kids. So nobody else's kids should have to suffer because their parents might feel insecure in telling their kids to stand up for themselves.
Or
Right?
don't
We
even
made
know
it to
what's going
America. So,
on.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
that's what I
come
told
on,
Dip
this is
yesterday.
not
I was
okay.
like, it's one thing if it's your kids, then you step in and you caused a ruckus. But I was like, this is your opinion, right? This is your opinion that this was wrong, this was whatever. And that's fine. That's not a wrong opinion, but you have to have those parents on your side to be like, you can't do this to my kid. You can say, hey, this kind of behavior isn't okay, but you need someone on the kids, any of the kids' parents, to be like, you can't talk to our girls like that, or you can't talk to our kids like that. They were the ones that were affected. You were
Yeah.
just a bystander. So you can stand up for the action in general, but not that specific one. Like, you can't be like, that was wrong. That's your opinion, right? You have to base your
Use the
accusations on
facts.
facts. Yeah.
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 And I think that maybe these girls, I don't know, this is all speculation, but maybe they're too scared to tell their parents because they don't want to lose this volunteer opportunity because they're using it for college and da 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 da.
Yeah.
But there are better ways to spend your time than being verbally abused by an adult who knows
Yeah.
better. You know,
Yeah.
that's not worth a college resume builder.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Honestly, sometimes I feel like you also don't know if it's wrong. Like your gut is telling you it's wrong and you're scared and something is off. But like, again, when you're in this very, very spread power dynamic, you don't know if the powerful person is wrong or not because they're the ones in charge. They should know what's right and wrong. And you feeling like scared or something went wrong or something like that, like you may even blame yourself, like, you know what, you're right, I shouldn't have done that. Or two, you may just think, I know it feels wrong to me, but like he's my teacher or my whatever, and he must be right in this because again, he's in that position to know what's right and wrong, and even though it feels wrong to me, maybe it's not. So then you don't tell anybody, right? So again, it just sits with you and sits with you and sits with you. And these are the little experiences that build, slowly killing like confidence and building self-doubt and like stopping you from speaking out loud because again, nobody's addressed these things with you. And listen, all of us separately have had these experiences when we were little, right? Like
Yeah.
we've been in these weird power dynamics where there was somebody who was very powerful and you were on the bottom of the food chain and something felt off, right? Like something was like, okay, that wasn't right, but you never said anything. And like I said, those things constantly build on each other. And if nobody's going to say anything or stand up for these girls, like who knows what kind of like, I don't want to call it trauma, but like who knows what's
Or
going to
like
happen.
internal dialogue. Yeah. What their
Yeah.
internal
Exactly.
dialogue is.
Your insecurities too.
Yeah.
Builds
Yeah.
on those too.
And I even said to him in the email, I was like, these girls were being compassionate. They were thinking for themselves, thinking, okay, these little kids came, let me just give them a few things to like get their activity done. They're upset. Like they were actually, they were
Doing the right
exercising
thing.
right, these like like being able to think for themselves and just do something for somebody else that was nice. And that is not common for teenagers to do. They like it's hard for them to think outside of their own little world. So the fact that these girls did do that, like that actually should have been like, I get it,
Rewarded.
girls.
Commended.
Exactly.
Commended. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I get it. You want to give these kids some time. I get it, but this has to stop now. This is the last one. You need to stop now. Something like that would have been fine, but the screaming was like, wow, that was just
I think you learned something in this too,
100%.
like next time you're in a maybe all of us did, like next time we're in a place where we can show out the younger generation how to have a voice, we shouldn't be like, so, 'cause you probably were in
Timid.
that same boat too a little bit that the girls were in, like, shoot, like he does run this program, maybe
Yeah.
he's right, like maybe, but like in that moment your instinct didn't kick in as quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. It was more of like, when you're in shock and then you're in that fight or flight mode. But
Yeah.
I went straight to flight. It wasn't even like not an ounce of me wanted to fight in that moment. But then like
Yeah.
as I was like thinking about it and as it was just like actually like coming to me,
Yeah.
that's when I was like, no, like we can't just sit back and be like, okay, what it happened.
Yeah.
What are we
Yeah.
gonna do?
Yeah.
Because also the little kids are watching this.
Yeah. Callan saw
Yeah.
it.
Right?
Callan saw the whole thing go down.
Yeah. And that's not okay either, because it's kind of like, oh, okay, when I get older, it's fine for another, like somebody even older to yell at me or put me down or,
Yeah.
do whatever. That's not
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And I was telling Sheen,
What is
it
this
wasn't
camp
even
for?
like,
Why do the kids have to go there? It's clearly not that great.
But not to discount it, I think it is a great camp. I think this one fella might just not belong in a camp full of kids, because you also have to have so much patience to like,
And
100%.
self-awareness
Yeah.
when you're working with kids.
Yeah.
yeah.
And look, we talk about the yelling at the parents all the time because this camp is like a majority of it is Indian. That's the town we're in. But, Indian parents tend to like, call in favors when they know the people running it or like, want a little adjustment here and there. And it's like, I get it. So that's why they end up being very strict with the parents, is because they're not gonna do that. So like, be on time and don't do this and don't do that and don't like, interrupt or whatever. I get it. Again, it's a level playing
Power.
field at
Yeah.
that point. But yeah. And like I said, that's what does make the program and the camp very successful. But yeah, when you
gotta
turn
think
on the
at what
kids, it's
cost.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't know.
I know.
That doesn't sound right.
Let us know what happens. Our kids
Yeah.
won't be there. Joking.
I know. And
It's okay.
it's
okay.
It's
You can do what
unfortunate
you
too
can
because a
do.
lot of our kids' friends go there, so they see a lot of their friends and they hang out and all this
It's
stuff.
not.
okay.
It's not the camp altogether, right? It's just
not.
this one thing that needs to be addressed. So you can't even be like, I feel bad. All these kids go there. Like they're still gonna go there. It's just that something needs to be addressed, and unless someone speaks up, it's either not going to be addressed or going to happen again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Agree.
So if you speak up for it, maybe it just won't happen to another kid.
What I did want to talk about is, Neen, remember we were talking about how there is this thing about like childhood trauma. We talked about whether we would call it childhood trauma or is it just like what we grew up with. And it's not necessarily trauma. Like we define it, or people these days will define it as trauma because it's just like an escape word. But are we calling the way we were raised by like, boomer parents trauma? No. Are we?
No.
I mean, I think there's like a whole movement towards healing your childhood trauma. I think that's like this whole thing people are doing. And I choose to call it a lived experience so that, my lived experience is definitely different than each of your lived experiences, right? Because
Mm.
obviously we did not experience the same exact things and outcomes and situations. But I think it's the ones that somebody self identifies as negative that they then associate as trauma. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes
But
100% sense.
but I don't know that. So like I think I mentioned this in another podcast that we spoke in, that when our parents were raising us, they were given their set of circumstances and did the best that they could for the most part, right? And then we are given our set of circumstances and we're doing the best that we can. And then our kids will do the same, our kids will do the same. So is it fair to say that the choices that our parents made, sometimes they were good choices, sometimes they were not great choices? Is it fair to say that they gave us trauma? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Are
Because
you
like
asking us or are you just
no,
saying in
no, I'm just saying
general?
in
I was like, because
general,
my answer is a
because
no.
we did this one retreat
she's
where there were like, you know, they lined a group of women up, like, there were like 6 or 7. And then the last person, which was supposed to be like the great grandparent, they would give rocks to. And then you're supposed to pass these rocks down all the way down to like present day or like your kid, like a future kid that doesn't exist or something like that. And it was like the weight and the burden of like these traumas as they're passed
Mhm.
down generationally. What does that feel like? And they, in your mind, felt heavier as they got passed down through these lineages. But the question then for me was kind of like, were these traumas that were passed down or were they lived experiences that were shared and people take in what they're capable of taking in and then they get transformed into whatever your current day circumstances and the way you express that. Does that make sense?
I don't, I, so I think that I did actually see that meme somewhere where you like pass down. I'd probably also call it lived experiences, also probably because I can't, trauma is so associated with like hardship and like sadness that that word doesn't cross my brain at all. But lived experiences, I think that when they're passed down generation to generation, people choose what they want to carry and what they want to let go, right? And some people who have had hardships in their own lives choose to carry other people's hardships and just heavy, like create more of a heaviness in their life instead of choosing to let go and be grateful for
But
the
you
lived
can't say
experience. I
that
don't
for
know.
like a child. Like, say a child who gets like beat, like just, beat every day. Like, I'm reading this book, Stillness, by Ryan Holiday, that was given to me by a friend. And in the part I'm in now, it talks about Tiger Woods' whole story
Yeah.
growing up and
Yeah.
how like awful his dad treated him just to build like that mental concentration and resilience
Toughness. Yeah.
against, yeah, like his external pressures of being in this sort of, you know, stressful game. But when you read it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is like terrible. But as a kid, did he have a choice? Or
and
did he just want to people please and show his dad he was strong?
but also, is it that like he calls it trauma today, but when his dad was doing that to build resilience, he was doing it as like he thought he was right? He thought this is what it
That's, yeah,
takes to build resilience. This is what it takes to build mental toughness. So to call it trauma is like Sheena said, it's so
that's a
extreme,
choice.
right? Because it's you are who you are because your parent either made the right or wrong choice, right? So are you now regretting those like it's hard to put into words, but it's almost like Tiger Woods is who he is because he was able to rely on the teachings of his father to build mental toughness and to be resilient and all those things, right? So I also agree that trauma is also very how you choose to see it. I can't say that it's whether or not you keep it or let go of it, because I think for a lot of people, including myself, it's hard to let go of some stuff, and it's hard to just be like, you know what, I'm gonna choose not to do what mom said, or choose not to do what mom taught me to do in this situation. Like that's not a thought that comes to me. It's, this is what mom told me to do, this is how I'm gonna do it. But like you said, mom taught us, whether it was the right thing or the wrong thing, it was based on her lived experience. It was based on her, what she feels is right. She wasn't intentionally doing anything wrong, right? Like she wasn't intentionally, even if she did smack us, it wasn't to hurt us, it was to teach us a lesson. It wasn't to like to abuse us, it was to for us to know that there are consequences to actions, right? So it 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 is really hard to label something as trauma. Again, like Sheena said, there are things that are truly genuinely trauma, right? Like getting abused as a child or going through something really
Like
difficult, like
war. Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But like you said, to label the way you've been raised as trauma is quite extreme, I
I
think.
think we can only also speak of our own experiences. It's
Yeah.
very different. Like it's very subjective too. Like what I think of when I think of trauma is so different than what somebody else would think of and you two would think of. So it's very hard to say in general trauma
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
not, but for us, like I think for us, like we have our own definition of what trauma is. And I don't think we for like
Yeah.
in my opinion, I don't think we ever carried any trauma. I think we and even like the lessons you're saying that like were passed on to us, we've also challenged those and we've had mom and dad say, "Okay, we see it your way." You know? So it's not
Fair.
even like it's not a I have to do it this way because mom and dad said so. It's also like Nina comes from a place of this isn't how I want to do it. I want to do it this way. And then it becomes a conversation or it becomes okay. So it's not very like, no, that's not how
Yeah.
you're going to do it. I taught you this way, so that's how it is. So
But
we
what
have
about the
like
people
open,
that are still going through that? Like, no,
yeah, I
this is
mean,
what I said. You're doing things wrong. Like,
that's
you
what
don't have your
therapy's
Mm.
shit
for.
together. Yeah.
Like literally,
See,
that's
Like
what
Dip said,
therapy's for.
everybody needs a therapist.
Like
everybody needs a
that's literally
therapist.
what they're and that's what I mean by we can't like for those people, I can't speak of to their experience, but like I can understand that like that is where therapy comes in. That's where a lot of conversations, a lot of, listening to podcasts comes in. But we can't. I don't know. I don't know how to address someone else going through something like that except to get help.
This is like exactly what I'm talking about with these kids. Like to me, I feel like this ended in a traumatic experience, in that it was not a lived experience, right? Like this is not, I I was raised to scream at people when they don't listen, and so that is just my lived experience, and now this person is going to be on the receiving end of my lived
But maybe
experience.
this guy was screamed at when he was not following the rules or when he was not doing what he was told or blah, 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 blah. Does it make it okay? Absolutely not. But
Mm,
how, that's probably why he justified his behavior in his email. Like,
yeah.
no, like, how else do you want me to run my camp? And like, da, 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 right? So his lived
But
experience was probably someone barking down at him to do what he was told. And now he, as a grown man, is like now like, oh, these are the people how old I was when this was happening to me. So I'm supposed to bark down at these kids so that they listen. But
mm,
that's not the world we live in. But
I think that's also a cultural thing for us too, right? Like that's how like a lot of men in our culture are either raised or see their elders doing that to women or girls, or I think it's like a cultural thing, which again doesn't make it right, but I can see Neen your point where he's seen this before and feels like this is how it's supposed to be.
did you watch Dopati?
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it very much like that storyline? Like, think about
Is this the one with she's like
It's
double
like
or
the
whatever? Yeah.
I remember. It's you know what this is? It's also
Don't give it
there's a
away
story.
because
No, I
don't
won't.
give it away because somebody still got to
It's
watch
the
it.
story of nurture versus nature, right? Like it's how two
Yeah.
people could be in the same exact positions, but the way they're raised is so different that they end up going on two different paths. Like if you
Yeah.
and remember there's also this, I don't know if you've there's a documentary about these three triplets.
Oh yeah. They get separated at
Remember?
birth and then they come back to each other.
Yeah, and it's again about nature versus nurture, about like how each one is raised so differently, even though they're literally the exact
Same
same
person.
person to start with.
Yeah. But
Very
so
interesting.
my question here, I guess, is that like given the world we live in, given like if you have a job and you're able to like then take time to volunteer and do these programs, whatever it is, you have access to help. So if somebody calls you out for doing something that's not okay, isn't that like a flag to like, hey, maybe I need to get some help? Or maybe I need to address this for me. Like, why?
Yeah.
Question, why did I react this way? Why was that my instinct to
Mhm.
think that as a grown ass man, it was okay to bark down at these young girls who are giving up their time to make my program successful? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe when you do this call with the girls, you should find like all these resources and send them to him and be like, I need you to self reflect. And here are some resources for your therapy because we all need therapy. Just say that. You should send him send me his email address. I'll take care of him. Like I said, I woke
Oh
up
my
on that
God,
side of the bed
Nina.
today.
She's like, you're gonna need to read this book and that book and this book.
Oh boy.
We will set you straight. Don't
I
yell at our
know.
little girls.
I know. And honestly, if it was boys in that situation, I probably would have felt the same. But the matter was made worse by the fact that they were girls. And I don't know why. Maybe it was because again, there's like a gender difference and a power dynamic difference. And like that is what also, just added fuel. But but to bring this back to trauma, right? Do you think those girls experienced trauma, or did they just live a life experience and now it's going to be something that like they take with them on their journey?
Did you watched Inside Out, right?
Yeah,
This
I
is
did not.
probably one of those big bubbles. This is probably one of those big bubbles that's going to get shot out into that mountain until Inside Out 2 comes and they release the mountain and it helps build them. But I feel like you need to rewire one of those strings to say, this happened, but then I did this. Like maybe
Yeah.
they all go back
Yeah.
and they go to this guy, don't yell at us again, or we're not going to come volunteer our time. And maybe if they stand up for themselves, this guy will understand that there isn't a power shift, that these girls have a voice and they will tell me because they know how to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
that's the other thing,
next
right?
time
Like
I'm
if
bringing my parents and then
yeah,
you talk to my parents about it. You know,
yeah. Yeah.
I'm bringing my dad. Oh,
I'm bringing
oh.
Nina from Love
I know.
SMD. That's what I'm doing. She's going to.
Yeah,
Not okay.
I also think part of us, I don't know what it is, but part of us doesn't want to be confrontational. And I don't know if that's everybody or if it's just like the millennial generation or before that or after that. Like there's no, like somebody can easily like take that power, the fact that you're not going to be challenged and just run with it, right?
Mhm.
Which is what I feel like did happen. But yeah, I think I don't know why. There's just like this fear of confrontation or this no need for confrontation. And maybe it's because the world itself is so confrontational that like there's just so much noise everywhere that it's like, okay, well, I just kind of just don't want to engage in this at all. And so we're just all very passive and just like going through life trying not to like cause any more wrinkles, you know?
Yeah, but I think you owe it to these little girls to be in their corner because now
100%.
you're in a space where you are influential and your voice does make a difference and you're learning how to use that voice for good. And so there's no better good than empowering our children, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
Like if we could tell our kids that you should be respected, you should use your voice, and nobody's allowed to take that from you, like there's no greater gift, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we don't want to raise a generation that's like, oh my God, I just got beat, but I'm just going to take it because I should.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I got yelled at, I got screamed at, I got slapped, like whatever. Like now my kids will slap me back. I'm like, oh hell no. But in a way, I'm like, go ahead, because like if anybody else touched you, I'd want to like kill them. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, guys, we need input. What are your guys' thoughts? When and more importantly, what do you do? Are you the fight or flight? Are you the speak up in the moment, speak up after, or don't speak at all? Because I think it's important to know. I think it's important to know who else is around our kids. And that's I think what my takeaway was when this whole thing went down is these people are around my kids. And yes, as bad as I felt for these other kids, I felt even worse that the possibility that it could be my kids, right? So we're wholeheartedly giving our these people our kids and they're responsible for them for 4 hours in a day. What's going on over there?
And you have to remember that the narrative for our kids, your kids, all the people who are sending their kids to camp, the narrative for those kids is that my parents trust these people.
Yeah.
So these are the behaviors that are okay to them.
Yeah.
That's part of that
100%.
narrative that's being
Yeah.
drilled down. Like,
Yeah.
my parents sent me here, and because this guy screamed, my parents send me here, so it must be okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, if these kids did see adults around and none of those adults actually said anything. And so for them, it was also like, again, they don't know this email exchange and these phone calls and all of that. For them, it's almost like they didn't say anything either. So maybe this is okay.
Yeah.
Right. So even if this adult volunteer is around my kids, like, can I trust the other adult volunteers to be like, hey, guy, this was not right. You need to calm down. Do not address the kids this way. Or are they all going to be passive like I was in that moment? So all the questions are there. Right. And also, I would hope that if it was my kids volunteering that day and there were other adults around, those adults would stand up for my kids, even though I didn't stand up for theirs. There's so much. There's so many thoughts like swirling around in my head. But I think the only way that I'm going to like figure this out is if I have a conversation with this adult and make it very clear that if this is okay to him, for one, my kids are definitely not going. And two, I need to talk to those girls because, like you said, they need to know.
They need to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I agree.
So. All right. Well, that was heavy.
As usual.
Thanks for listening, y'all. You can catch us on Instagram. Definitely DM us with your thoughts. You can also leave messages on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts, all of the places you find our podcast. And till next time, thank you for listening. With love, SND.
Bye.
Bye.